The vast warship Kraszak moved silently through space, its dark metal hull absorbing the light from the nearest star. Inside, thousands of Zarkish warriors prepared for another conquest. They were the apex predators of the galaxy, ruthless, undefeated, and feared by all. In the command chamber, High Lord Verkan stood before a massive holographic display, his yellow eyes studying the image of a blue-green planet, Earth. A primitive world, one of his officers sneered. Weak, fragile. Verkan bared his sharp teeth in a grin. And unprepared. The Zarkish had conquered hundreds of species, feeding on their resources, enslaving their people. None had ever dared resist. Why would humans be any different? The invasion begins. The warships entered Earth's atmosphere like silent shadows, blocking out the sky. Cities below were unaware of what was coming. The Zarkish did not announce their arrival. They never did. Shock troops landed in strategic locations, major cities, communication hubs, and military bases. Their scanners detected no immediate threats, no armies waiting, no planetary defenses active. This was going to be too easy. Commander, the humans are not resisting. Verkan frowned at the report. His clawed hand tightened into a fist. No planetary defenses. None. The cities are empty. No signs of battle. Silence spread across the command center. The Zarkish had attacked hundreds of civilizations before, but there was always resistance. Always. Deploy the scouting units, Verkan ordered. Find them. Kill whoever fights back. The Zarkish warriors spread across the planet, entering the silent cities. The towering buildings stood undamaged. Vehicles were abandoned in the streets. Not a single human was in sight. It was as if they had all vanished. The first signs of fear. Hours passed. No battles. No resistance. Then something strange happened. One by one, Zarkish patrols stopped responding. At first, the commanders believed it was equipment failure, but then a distress signal came through. The voice was shaking. Commander, we are under attack. Silence. The signal cut off. Verkan's grip tightened on the console. His warriors did not panic. They did not fear. They were hunters. And yet, something was hunting them. The command chamber of the Kraszak was silent. Too silent. High Lord Verkan paced back and forth, his sharp claws tapping against the metal floor. His warriors were elite, trained to dominate and destroy. But now, they were vanishing. It made no sense. Commander, another squad has gone dark. The officer's voice was steady, but Verkan could smell the unease in the air. The Zarkish never lost soldiers like this. Not without a fight. Where are the humans? On the surface, squads moved cautiously through the silent streets. Their armored boots echoed through the empty cities. No gunfire, no bodies, no blood. It was as if the humans had never been there. Commander, scanning reports coming in. We are detecting movement. Small, fast, unregistered signatures. Verkan leaned forward. What kind of movement? The officer hesitated. It's strange. Not large groups, single targets, but every time we lock onto one, they disappear. Verkan's mandibles clicked together. Are they using cloaking technology? Negative. No energy readings. No advanced tech. Just them. Verkan narrowed his eyes. Just them. The first kill. A Zarkish squad moved through the ruins of a once bustling human city. Their leader, Captain Vrax, raised a clawed hand. Stop. The warriors froze. Something wasn't right. The air felt heavy, as if they were being watched. Vrax turned on his helmet scanner. It picked up. Nothing. Then, from the shadows, a single human stepped forward. A male, unarmed, wearing dark clothes. He stood in the center of the street, looking at them. Vrax growled. A survivor. The human didn't run, didn't speak. He just smiled. Vrax bared his fangs. Enough of this. Kill him. The squad opened fire. Plasma bolts shot through the air. The human didn't move, didn't even flinch. The shots should have torn him apart. But when the smoke cleared, he was gone. Silence. Then, behind them, a guttural scream. Vrax spun around. One of his warriors was missing. Then another scream. Another gone. The remaining Zarkish turned wildly, weapons raised. But there was no enemy. The last thing Vrax heard was a whisper behind him. Then, darkness. A new nightmare begins. On board the Krozak, reports flooded in. Entire squads, gone. Weapons ineffective. The humans, they're not fighting like an army. They're hunting us. Verkan felt something he had never felt before. A cold, twisting sensation deep in his chest. Was this fear? The command center of the Krozak was now in chaos. High Lord Verkan stared at the reports on his screen. Zarkish warriors, elite, undefeated, and feared across the stars, were vanishing without a trace. The humans weren't meeting them in battle. They were hunting them. "Commander, we've lost contact with 6 more squads." An officer growled. "How?" Verkan snapped. "Are they using new weapons? Advanced tactics?" The officer hesitated. "No, my lord. They don't even seem to have an army." Silence filled the room. Ghosts in the dark. On the surface, a Zarkish war patrol moved through the ruins, their weapons glowing with energy. Tight formation. Their leader, Captain Trash, ordered, "No one moves alone." They knew the humans were here, somewhere. The squad moved through the dark city. Buildings loomed over them, their shattered windows like empty eyes watching their every move. The Zarkish were used to being the ones who instilled fear, but now something was different. Something was wrong. A distant sound echoed through the ruins. A sharp, metallic clang. Drash spun around. Nothing. Then a whisper. Not in their language. Not in any language they knew. A low, steady voice, speaking words they didn't understand, but felt deep in their bones. Then, movement. Drash raised his plasma rifle. "Show yourself, human." Silence. Then, a shadow dropped from above. A warrior screamed as something fast and brutal tore him away into the darkness. The squad fired wildly, blue plasma bolts lighting up the ruins. Nothing. Just shadows. Then another scream. And another. Rash turned to his last remaining soldier. The Zarkish warrior was trembling. We must retreat." Drash bared his fangs. The Zarkish never retreated. Then he saw it. A pair of human eyes, glowing in the dark, watching him, and smiling. The fear spreads. Back on the Krozak, a transmission crackled through the speakers. A Zarkish voice, broken and desperate. They don't fight fair. They use the dark. They disappear. There. The signal cut out. Verkan's claws gripped the console. His warriors, his unstoppable predators, were being slaughtered by a species that shouldn't have stood a chance. His eyes burned with rage. "Enough," he growled. "Burn this world to ash." He had underestimated humanity. Now he would end them. The Krozak fleet hovered over Earth, their warships positioned for annihilation. The Zarkish had been patient. They had tried hunting the humans, but now patience was over. Now they would wipe them out. The order to exterminate. High Lord Verkan stood on the bridge of his warship, looking down at the blue-green planet beneath him. No more games. His voice was ice-cold. Burn it. Burn everything. Across the fleet, planetary bombardment cannons charged with deadly energy. Thousands of warheads locked onto major cities. The command was clear. Wipe out every human settlement. Verkan watched the countdown on his screen. 5 seconds. 4. 3. Then, the sky betrays them. Alarms exploded across the bridge. "High Lord," a Zarkish officer shrieked. "Something's happening." The cannons. The screens flickered. The targeting systems failed. The warheads deactivated mid-flight. Impossible. Verkan roared. What is happening? Then, through the massive viewport, he saw it. Earth's satellites, once harmless pieces of metal, were coming online. But they were no longer just satellites. They were weapons. Humanity's hidden hand. For centuries, humans had feared alien invasion. But instead of waiting for it to come, they had prepared. Across Earth's orbit, old satellites and defense systems, once useless relics, suddenly came to life. They had been waiting. And now, they were striking back. A transmission cut through the fleet's comms. A human voice. Calm. Steady. You thought we were weak. You thought we would run. Now you learn what happens when humans stop running. Then, Earth's defense grid fired. The hunters become the prey. Blinding beams of energy lanced through space. The first Zarkish warship erupted in a ball of fire. Then another. Then another. The hunters were being hunted. On the ground, human soldiers emerged from the shadows, armed with stolen alien tech. The Zarkish troops, once the apex predators, were now trapped. They had come to exterminate Earth. But Earth had set a trap for them instead. And now, the real war was about to begin. The Zarkish fleet was in chaos. The once mighty hunters of the galaxy were now the ones being hunted. High Lord Verkan gripped the armrests of his command chair, his claws digging into the metal. How? How is this happening? His officers scrambled to regain control, but the humans' counterattack was too precise, too well planned. This was no desperate defense. This was an ambush. The sky burns. Earth's hidden orbital defense grid was tearing through the Zarkish warships. Laser arrays, plasma turrets, and electromagnetic pulses disabled shields and cracked hulls. Warships that had once conquered planets were now being torn apart. Verkan watched in horror as one of his dreadnoughts, the Bloodfang, was struck by a concentrated plasma blast. The ship's armor melted like wax before it erupted into a fiery explosion. Thousands of Zarkish warriors perished in an instant. The soldiers rise. On Earth, the human resistance wasn't running anymore. Across the battlefields, Zarkish soldiers fell one by one. The humans had adapted to their tactics. They had learned. And now, they were winning. A squad of Zarkish warriors moved through a ruined city, searching for human survivors. Their infrared scanners detected movement in a nearby building. Prey detected. One of them growled. They moved in, claws ready, weapons charged. Then, boom! The building collapsed on top of them. From the shadows, human snipers picked off the survivors. The humans weren't fleeing anymore. They were hunting. The final mistake. On his flagship, Verkan's mind raced. We must retreat, one of his commanders urged. No. Verkan's eyes burned with rage. We are the apex predators. We do not run. But that was the mistake. Because humans didn't just fight back. They set traps. They lured their enemies in. And now, the Zarkish were right where the humans wanted them. The final strike was coming. The Zarkish fleet was breaking apart. Once feared across the galaxy, their mighty warships now burned in Earth's orbit. Human defenses had turned the hunters into prey. But the battle wasn't over. Not yet. Desperate moves. High Lord Verkan stood frozen, staring at the battlefield. His fleet was in ruins. His soldiers were being hunted on the ground. The humans had done the impossible. How? He whispered. They were supposed to be weak. A Zarkish officer stumbled forward, bleeding. High Lord, we must retreat. Verkan's eyes burned with hatred. Retreat? Never. But before he could respond, a new threat appeared. The hidden weapon. From the darkness of space, human warships emerged. These weren't old, repurposed ships. They were new, sleek, deadly, and they had been waiting. For years, humanity had built in secret. For years, they had studied alien technology. And now, they were ready. A voice crackled over the Zarkish fleet's communication systems. Calm, steady, unshaken. You thought we were defenseless. You thought we would kneel. Now you will learn what happens when humanity fights back. The human fleet opened fire. Total annihilation. Zarkish warships shattered under the assault. Laser beams, rail guns, and missile barrages tore through their ranks. Verkan watched in shock. This was no longer a battle. This was a slaughter. On the ground, human soldiers launched their final offensive. Zarkish warriors tried to escape, but the traps were already set. The prey had turned into the ultimate predators. Verkan staggered back, his mind racing. His people had spent centuries hunting others. Now, they were the ones being hunted. And there was nowhere left to run. High Lord Verkan stood on the burning bridge of his flagship, his mind refusing to accept the truth. The Zarkish had never lost. Not in 1,000 battles. Not in 100 invasions. But now, they were finished. The human fleet had torn through his forces like they had been waiting for this moment, like they had studied every Zarkish weakness. The galaxy's apex predators had met something far worse. They had met humans. No mercy left. Human warships blocked every escape route. Human soldiers pushed through every battlefield. And human weapons showed no hesitation. Verkan gritted his teeth. He had always believed in one simple truth: the strong ruled, the weak perished. Now, that rule still held true. But his people were the weak ones. And the humans, they were something else entirely. The final message. Verkan's communication officer turned to him, trembling. High Lord, a message from the human commander. The officer hesitated, then played the recording. A human general appeared on the screen. His expression was cold, unforgiving. You came here thinking we were prey. You wanted to break us, kill us, enslave us. The general leaned forward. You were wrong. The screen flickered. The message ended. And then, the final attack began. The end of the Zarkish. Explosions ripped through the Zarkish fleet. One by one, their ships fell. Their warriors screamed in fear. On the ground, the last Zarkish forces were surrounded. Their weapons were empty. Their spirits were broken. Human soldiers moved in. The war was over. The Zarkish, the once great hunters of the galaxy, had been wiped out. A new reality. As the last Zarkish ship vanished in fire, the humans watched in silence. They had been seen as prey. Now, they were something far worse. Something the galaxy would fear forever. And anyone who dared to challenge humanity would suffer the same fate.